Although I love romantasy books, romance isn't my thing. But for today's video, I decided we're going to read just romance books. Let me know if you have a favourite romance book that you think I might enjoy, because I do want to love them, I do. We're going to start off this video with one that I feel like I'm almost guaranteed to enjoy. I absolutely loved Flawless, which was the first book in the Chestnut Springs series. Therefore, it is only right that I obviously read the second one. I'm actually filming this intro after finishing this book. I'm gonna watch the B-roll and then I'm gonna insert myself back in and then we're gonna discuss it. But let me start by saying, Elsie Silver, she knows how to make an engaging romance. It's not boring, there's always loads going on. As someone who doesn't really like spice, I love her spice. We're never waiting around for the next interesting thing to happen. It's always interesting, which is so rare in a romance book, I think. Obviously, I'm only 2 books into this 5-book standalone series. However, there's always a third act breakup, which I know a lot of people don't enjoy a third act breakup. However, I actually quite like the third act breakup. Dare I say? One is about Cade, who is one of the Eaton brothers, who obviously live on a ranch. And then Willa is Summer's best friend. So Willa lives in the city. She moves to Chestnut Springs to babysit Cade's son because he's a single dad. Oh, single dad trope. I forgot about that one. Also a age gap trope. However, she is 25. He's like nearer 40, I think. He's had a lot of past trauma with like ex-girlfriends. So we're gonna read this. She says we're a fully tabbed book. And then we're gonna discuss it afterwards. On the side, I've got the book, got the sun. I'm literally loving this book. It is convincing me to come sit outside and read. And I fucking love it. Elsie Silver knows how to do a good romance, just like fun and easy. I don't know where Elsie Silver comes from. I don't know anything about her as a person, but she has very British humour, considering all her characters are written to have lived in America. She has quite a British humour and I just absolutely love it because they're just funny characters to see the inner monologue of. And as someone who thought they loved Rhett in the first book, Cade, deep breath counts 10. This is a 5-book series. Yes, they're standalone, but how many different storylines can you write for a cowboy small town romance? They're obviously going to overlap a bit, and I was really worried it was going to be repetitive to the first book. And at first, kind of, I guess, only because of forced proximity. Bless you. Fucking hell, bless you. Let's read. Let's go to the beach. Oh, I got sent these sparkling ice. This is the black raspberry. I can't stop drinking them. I ain't got no pennies on. Got no pennies on. I finished the book, guys. Well, I bet you wouldn't have guessed. I love this. 4.5 stars. Maybe a 4 stars if I sit on it a bit longer. But as I finished this book, I just flew through it. I absolutely loved it. I couldn't put it down. It's just constantly fun things going on. The humour's really good. I love seeing how Willa and Luke interact, because obviously Luke's like a very young little boy who is Cade's son. And it's really fun just watching that dynamic grow, I guess, and like flourish. This is like a very small, simple detail, but Willa is a redhead who comes from the city, plays guitar. And I just feel like that sort of female character is not rare to find in books, but it's definitely not heavily picked. I feel like a lot of books tend to stick to the really pretty blondes, the hot brunettes, but I love seeing representation of just something a bit different. Like obviously nothing crazy, nothing out of the blue, but it's just in the book world. I would 100% recommend this series, especially if you're like me and you struggle to read romance and enjoy it, because this was so much fun. I never ever thought I'd be the sort of person to continue / read a romance series, and I actually charity shopped the whole series besides one book. So this series cost me a total of like £7. And then for my next book, I really wasn't sure. I had a few to pick between. I decided to pick up November 9 by Colleen Hoover. I actually love her books. They're like watching a soap opera. Is it soap or soap opera? I don't know. It's always drama. It's never boring. Heartbones was the first book I read in like my adult years. That kind of got me back into reading again. Like it's really hard to get bored in her books because she just knows how to do some dramatic storyline. Fallon meets Ben, an aspiring novelist, the day of her scheduled cross-country move. Their untimely attraction leads them to spend Fallon's last day in LA together, and her eventful life becomes the creative inspiration Ben has always sought for his novel. They continue to meet on the same day every year until one day Fallon becomes unsure if Ben has been telling her the truth or fabricating a perfect reality for the sake of the ultimate plot twist. I have read up to page 19 because I started it this morning, and so far she's met Ben. She was at a dinner with her dad, who's not a nice person, and he kind of just slid into the booth and pretended to be her boyfriend while like she's mid arguing with her dad, and he obviously like stands up for her, and she's like, who is this stranger kissing my cheek right now? Also charity shop this book, brand new, like come on now. Okay, new angle unlocked, love that for me. I'm gonna give you a little update on November 9. First of all, I've been calling it November 9th. It's November 9, so that's a good start. I'm loving it. So we're following Fallon, our female main character, and Ben, our male. Fallon is at like a diner with her dad, who she's not very close with, and they're both in the acting industry. She got into a fire accident and half of her body is like covered in scars from where she was burnt. The conversation basically leads to the dad implying that she's never going to get an acting role because she's not pretty enough. Which is disgraceful, especially coming from your own dad, like disgusting. Ben is actually sat in the booth next to them. And then from that day, they basically spend the rest of that day together. And they realise, like, we're low-key like best buds here, come on now. And because that day was November 9th, they then make a plan that every November 9th for the next 5 years, they're going to meet on just November 9th. They don't trade any social medias, no numbers, but the purpose of only meeting on November 9th is because her mum told her that the years between, I think it was like 17 and 23, are the most crucial for like maturing and growing into yourself. And her mum told her not to date anyone so she could like fully embody that whole growing into yourself experience. I actually really like that concept of the book, and I'm really enjoying the whole like the really quick changes, and I look forward to the next date every time, which is great. Although I will but I didn't quickly say, in the very first meeting between them two, Ben mentally makes a comment basically being like, well, I wonder what colour underwear she's wearing, and immediately I was like, I ain't gonna fucking like this book. I ain't gonna like this book. Like, if that's already your first thought and you don't even know the girl's name yet, immediately I was disgusted by this man, and I was like, you absolute. But over time, it became actually a joke between them two, and it became kind of like a bonding experience for them. The point we're at now is, I think they had like 2 or 3 November 9ths, went swell, went great, and then she goes back to, on one of the days, and Ben is not quite the same person that he used to be. He's gone through something quite traumatic. You know, it's the whole like, I'm not gonna let you do that for me. Or it's like, wait, hang on. They both want the same thing, but someone's like playing the victim too hard, and they're like, I'm not gonna let you do it for me. But even though it wouldn't even be that deep really anyway. Tea, my book, my water, and my ladybug. It does not get better than that. I'm up to like 270 in the book, so I've literally got like 30 pages left, and I'm so excited to finish it. Like, I've been thinking about it all day. I've been making TikToks all day. I've just fucking bawled my eyeballs out, man. Just done it. I've done it. Like, her books are always dark, they're always deep, they're always emotional, very real, not real life. They're not realistic, but they're real life situations. I'm having a shit day, period. I also learned to have Dutch braid hair. It's probably fallen out. I did learn at some point today, so that's brilliant. And I also finished November 9 a couple of days ago, so I'm going to give you a little review. I'm going to say 3.5 stars, really good. I've got Fallon and Ben, they meet once a year, and Ben is basically writing the book about their story, and he's not letting her read it until he finishes it. Ben has been keeping a secret from Fallon throughout this entire book, which is actually barely mentioned until Fallon finds the manuscript of his book. She obviously gets to read about their story and Ben's life prior a little bit more, and she finds out some secrets that Ben hadn't spilt, which were kind of crucial to him and his character development, I guess. I believe his books aren't particularly poetic, especially when you compare them to, say, like Lauren Roberts, who's a very poetic writer. However, she does write some really good just one-liners here and there that I'm like, oh, girl, that kind of, hey. There was one here about how Fallon was scared to go back into acting because of her appearance. And she was like, I'm scared people will take one look and laugh at me. And he said, it means you're putting yourself out there to be laughed at. Not enough people have the courage to even take that step. I hope they laugh at you, Fallon. I really liked it, and I would recommend you read this if you happen to pick it up in a charity shop or something. For my next book, we've got quite a popular TikTok book. We've got 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. I might actually close the window, so like it looks a bit shit. My bad. So controversial because this book is popular, I feel like for bad reasons. Like, it was viral on TikTok, and then we all know that once a book goes viral on TikTok, all like the fussy readers start putting their opinions in, which obviously we love. Opinions are all valid. And then suddenly you find out that actually it's loved because it's quite an easy, simple read, and all the people who are more into the technical side of reading will absolutely slam these sort of books. But some people just love the same old romance. So I found it in a charity shop, and it would have been rude to have left it and not have found out what the hype and the discussion was about. I personally don't like a book. I will listen on an audiobook to get through it, and I have already started the audiobook, which is not a good sign. I'm only on page 76 as well, so I've got a rule though where I read to page 100 before I DNF, because I feel like you need at least 100 pages to really get into the storyline. And what I've noticed is the storyline actually is really good. I love the storyline, but it's the writing that I don't enjoy. She writes in very short, blunt sentences. Although the cover is absolutely stunning, we can't deny that. I also love how floppy it is, like, oh my god, you're kidding! We're booking 1,000 boy kisses on all my dog walks, and I think I've come to the conclusion I'm gonna DNF. I don't do this lightly. I don't take DNFing lightly at all. I feel like we're just covering the same stuff again and again, because obviously you have to start with the childhood so you can learn the backstory, and then you have to know about them now so you can understand why what's happening to the main girl is so detrimental. They mentioned this cherry blossom tree. What am I gonna say? I can't hack it. So good. Guys, I finished 1,000 Boy Kisses by Tilly Cole. In fact, I finished it particularly fast this time round because I actually DNF'd this book. Unfortunately, I got up to page 74 and I just really could not get into this book. So I started audiobooking it, and I think I probably got up to a page like 100-ish. And I was really enjoying the plot. I just wasn't enjoying the writing. Let's just talk through it, right? Because the plot actually is a really good plot. So we're following Poppy and Rune, childhood best friends. Rune moves away for 2 years, and then Poppy just suddenly starts going no contact after like the first day, and he has no idea why she won't speak to him. And then 2 years has passed, Rune moves back, and he's like, why did you just go no contact out of nowhere for no reason whatsoever? However, this conversation has not had for a good like 3 weeks or something, and in that 3-week gap he's been horrible to Poppy. I'm obviously not going to tell you why, because it is quite a big part of the story, but it does happen quite early on, to be fair. And then the rest of the book I didn't read. I skipped straight to the end. One of the main symbols in this book is a certain tree they always sat under when they were little, and this tree is mentioned so many effing times in the first 70 pages of this book that I could not bring myself to read anymore and hear about this tree one more time. Not even having the emotional attachment to the characters, skipping straight to the end, and I still bawled my eyes out. And the epilogue even more so. The epilogue in this book is criminal. I'm going to give this, I think I actually gave this book a 3 stars on Goodread, purely because even though I DNF'd it, the plot is actually really good and the ending's really good. If there's one thing I hate in a book, it's miscommunication. However, if you love that, you're going to like it because they have a lot of miscommunication. So we have finished our romance books and trying to get into a genre that usually isn't my first pick. And actually, it was fairly successful considering I did actually love these 2 first books. So here, love life. I'm definitely happy with the selection, and I'm happy I did try 1,000 Boy Kisses because it has been on my TBR for a good like year or so. If you've read any of these, please let me know your opinions and your thoughts, and I would love to hear what you think. Also recommend me your favourite romance books that have no miscommunication, because I could not hack that again. And I will definitely look into reading them for a future video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.